Hi, everyone. Welcome to the infirmary of the CU podcast. It is Tuesday, January 15th, 2019. That's Ian Ferguson, looking as bad as I did a week ago.
Yeah, I'm not great.
But I'm not that much better. I'm like 10% better. How's everyone doing? Is everyone sick? Like, has everyone been sick this year?
I feel like everyone's been sick since the first.
I knew 5 people that were sick at one time.
Bonnie was sick. Lincoln is sick. I'm sick. You're sick.
I didn't give it to you, though.
No, probably not.
I don't know where mine came from either, by the way. Because my friend I was hanging out with, she had been sick, but she was getting over, almost done. I don't think she was contagious. And then I was sick before I hung out with her. So it's bizarre. I think this is the end times. I think we're dead. We're doomed. Everyone's going to have a cold, and productivity is going to go down. And the next thing you know, there's no bread anymore.
No bread.
When you go to the store, everyone making bread is sick, and we're all dead.
No bread.
No bread. No rice in the patties. All right, we'll be talking about Alien Blackout mobile backlash. Bungie and Activision go through a bad breakup. SNES games coming to Switch online. Metal Storm getting a re-release from Retrobit / Limited Run. Limited. And it's sick too. Cloud gaming services up the wazoo. Your Q&A. Ian, so what have you been doing since the New Year's? Now, this is the third week in a row we're doing the podcast. This actually isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's more focused. Yeah. No more complaints about our topics being 8 weeks late or whatever people say. This happened last year. Literally, could have.
I watched RoboCop for the first time.
You didn't see RoboCop before?
No.
I think I saw that when I was like 8, and that was probably not the best idea to see.
Yeah, Vonnie said that she saw it when she was like 9.
My dad did.
Like, this is not a...
See, my dad was selfish, and he would just rent like Lethal Weapon and movies that he wanted to see, in Total Recall.
Right.
Probably not the best to have your young, impressionable child watch this hyper-violent stuff, especially stuff like Total Recall and RoboCop. Same director.
Yeah, Verhoeven. We watched the director's cut, which is maybe like 3 or 4 more minutes, but
blood?
It's all fucking blood.
It's just all over the top blood.
When Murphy,
Kool-Aid blood.
When Murphy dies, it's like,
and that was violent to begin with.
It's it's long in the.
How much longer do you have? Every limb gets shot off.
He gets his hand shot off. Yeah, it's
by the dad from that '70s show.
Yeah, which
is funny.
Anyways, I thought it was an incredibly good movie. Like, genuinely pretty damn good. I liked it.
Yeah. It's fun. It's violent, but it's a critique of how future society could become.
Oh yeah,
and our addiction to violence.
That's very good.
Just like The Running Man. I love The Running Man. No one ever talks about The Running Man. How great that is.
Oh yeah,
it's great. Arnold had a nice run of movies there. They weren't all just like. I don't like Commando, by the way. Everyone loves Commando. That's like my least favorite Arnold movie.
Oh, I loved Commando growing up.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Really? That seemed like the cheapest one out of all of them. It just didn't seem like a good one to me. As a young violence-filled pap. I watched them all when I was a kid. I watched Red Heat. I watched when he was a Russian. With James Belushi.
Commando's a good road trip movie.
It's a road trip movie?
That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
He goes all over the place.
I haven't seen it in a while.
It's good.
I was more of a Predator sort of fan myself.
I love Predator.
Predator's probably the best Arnold movie ever. If you want to take the Terminator.
I mean, if you just want to talk about,
it's the most realistic, we'll just say, Arnold movie in terms of like how he is.
Sure.
He doesn't really do that many superhero stuff in it.
He gets his ass kicked.
Ass kicked. Yes, he does construct his own like lances and bows and arrows, but you could do that.
It was the 80s. You could do that.
But I mean, it was realistic in terms of how the combat unit was portrayed, combat and everything else. It was a manly man's movie. It was good before it became a whole meme. Get to the chopper, Anyway, Ian.
Yeah.
New NES Punk video is out. Ian's seeing it. And you know how fickle Ian is when it comes to me in general, but my creativity.
I did see it. Yeah, it was good.
Check it out. It's Doom. Doom on the Super NES. And it has nothing to do with anything else that's been going on in all the past few months.
No, nothing.
Nothing the past couple months. Nothing.
I'd give it a B++.
B++? Yeah.
Well,
so, okay, Mr. I don't overrate things. So what's an A? That's an A+ to me. And what would be an A Pat the NES Punk video then to compare it to?
You haven't done one yet.
Wow. Not even track and field? Come on.
Track and field is pretty good.
Track and field is up there.
All right, track and field can be the A+.
Or the haunting with Frank, or the wrestling one with Frank. Come on.
I'll go with track and field.
Track and field. Come on, I can't. That'll never.
I've always told you that the track and field one was good.
I've always told you. It's like, oh, my little child. Okay. We'll be talking about other stuff as well, but shout out to the AGDQ, all video games done quick.
Yes.
Marathon. They raised $2.5 million.
Yeah,
for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. So kudos to them. I don't keep up. People ask, Pat, why don't you talk about this more? I don't keep up with the speed running community. I don't watch it. I'm not saying it's not interesting to you. I just don't know what's going on with it. I have no idea what the community is about. I don't know anyone in the community. So, but that's great that they get together every year and they play games for like a week and they raise a lot of cash. So that's fantastic. We might have an NES Marathon date.
We might.
Penciled in. We are looking at right now the weekend, 3.5 weeks from now. That doesn't sound like a lot of time. Maybe I can push back another week. But no, February 9th and 10th, we are looking at the 9th annual, semi-annual NES Marathon. We're probably looking at Children's Miracle Network again.
Yep.
And there's always disasters everywhere. There wasn't 1,000 hurricanes this past year.
No.
There was only like one, thankfully. Which is still one more than you want, but it wasn't like 8 like the year before, which was weird to have that many.
Yeah, that was strange.
Climate change alarmists. No. That's happening. Even South Park said, yeah, we kind of fucked up by not knowing about this is going to happen. Anyway. Then you want to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home? You didn't see the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer? Okay. I'm a big Spider-Man fan. He's number 1 on my list. He's 1A. Captain America's 1B on Pat's superhero list.
Wow.
After that, it's you can pick and choose. You know, it's like, I guess Batman's in my top 7 or 8. You know, Superman, who doesn't like Superman when he was a guy? I had some Superman comics. But really Spidey, and then you go to Cap. And then really, I always liked Iceman. But when I was reading collecting comics in the 80s and 90s, Iceman was geeky, and he wasn't in the X-Men. He was an X-Factor at that point, and he was out. So he never got his
the modern Iceman run is really good.
Is it good?
My buddy Cena in LA does it.
John Cena?
No, different.
But Iceman always seemed quote unquote cool, but he always was. I thought his powers were great, and it sucked to see his powers in the X-Men movies because they weren't there.
Right.
So, I'll make ice cubes for you. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Iceman is one of the coolest characters ever. He has an ice armor on him, and he slides around. And you didn't see that in any movies where he really iced up. He did a little bit in X-Men 3 for a second. And then he slid around a little bit in Days of Future Past. He came back, but he wasn't really Iceman still, for the most part. And he gets killed. Spoilers, he gets killed really easily. And he's one of the most powerful X-Men. Sorry. What was I saying? Oh. Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. So he's in Europe having fun. Nick Fury shows up to go on a mission. You got Mysterio. You got his Ned, his geeky friend, and you have Zendaya as the new, I guess, Mary Jane technically. They changed that up, which is fine. And then now Aunt May knows who Peter is. I didn't like that in the first one, but and then you have Happy Hogan come back, who's like now has like a romantic interest. It looks like in Aunt May, and I just don't like this version of Spider-Man that much. I was okay with it in the first movie. I loved him in Civil War. I fucking loved him in Civil War.
Yeah, he was great.
And then they kind of changed him in the first movie. And then he became a little whiner in Infinity War. Little whiner. A little, Mr. Stark, can I be an Avenger? Whatever you want, Mr. Stark. Enough. Fucking enough with seeking everyone's approval, Peter. Because when you put the mask on, you're supposed to be super confident. That's the point. That's the dichotomy of Peter versus Spider-Man. And I don't know how these Marvel movies aren't getting that strong. It's almost like they need to have a little fucking sidekick, little boy hero in their universe. But that's not how Spider-Man ever really acted. So it kind of bothers me. I'm sorry. You don't have an affinity to Spider-Man like I do, so it didn't bother you as much. But it bothers me. I'm sorry. It bothers me that like Daddy Stark has to chide Spider-Man about things when Spider-Man back in the day, if he got chided by Tony Stark, would have said "fuck off" and like webbed him up in a second. Here's the thing about Spider-Man. It's a false bravado. That's why he's still geeky Peter, but he feels ultra confident in the suit. So he'll seek your approval until you tell him no. They don't get pissy and fuck off. That's what happened with the Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. Then they end up fighting each other. That happened early in the Spider-Man comics. Quick history lesson. He would like meet up with heroes. Then he get like rubbed the wrong way because he's a fucking hothead 16-year-old. And then they fight. Like it happened with Giant Man and the Wasp. It happened with Daredevil. I'm talking early on, the first year or two of Spider-Man. But then it would happen with like the X-Men in the Secret Wars. He'd show up, and then not knowing what's going on because the X-Men didn't know what side they're on in the Secret Wars. I'm getting really geeky right now, but I love this stuff. And then so then he fights the X-Men, and you know what? He fucking beats them because he's Spider-Man. And he makes Wolverine look like the fucking chump he is in that fight. I love it. So that's Spider-Man. It's like, yeah, he's fragile on the inside, but you push his buttons, he's strong enough to kick your ass. And I have not seen that yet in these movies. I haven't seen it yet. I know he's still a kid, but when he was a kid in the comics, he saved the day and pretended to be a man. That's the whole shocking thing, is I didn't know he was a man when he was a kid. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting really geeky right now with this stuff. I'm sorry. It's like 80% of Spider-Man in these movies. The Spider-Man in Into the Spider-Verse that you see in the first 15 minutes. That is Spider-Man, even though he's an older man. He's like 25 there or 26, but that's Spider-Man's personality, and I haven't seen that yet in any of these movies. No, Maguire, who was okay, not with Tom Holland, and definitely not with Andrew Garfield, who just acted like a fucking dick in those two movies. Wasn't confident. He was just a dick. As Spider-Man 2, he was a dick. You ever go back and watch those two Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield?
I've never seen him.
He's just a fucking dick in them. He's not even like... He acts like a dick to everyone.
Yeah, I've never
even as
seen
Peter.
him.
He acts like a dick to Flash Thompson and like fucking like dunks on him from 40 feet out. Peter wouldn't do... Peter was smart enough in the comics. No, you can't do that as Peter. Like, okay, I'm sorry. This is the most geeky I'll get with Spider-Man talk right now. But
Peter.
Yeah. But even in these comics, it's like he's in awe of like Nick Fury. And the trailer's like, oh, you're Nick. Nick Fury's a guy with an eye patch and a gun. Peter shouldn't give a shit about that. It's not a threat. It's not something he should look up to. Sorry. He's got better powers than almost every hero in the MCU. He has cooler powers than. And he's stronger than just about all of them. Save for like Thor. So, like, stop being in awe of everyone, Peter. This is me as a life coach. Stop being in awe. You can kick all their asses. Okay?
Are you going to shit in anger?
This is the closest you're going to get to Ian, going off on the Ninja Turtle movies, which, by the way, they are rebooting the Ninja Turtles movie.
Again.
They did two of them. They couldn't do a trilogy, and now they're doing another one. I guess that's good. Everything comes around on the CU podcast. It just takes enough time.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We'll see what happens.
And then what's the other news? The Gearbox Randy Pitchford lawsuit looks messy.
Yeah, it looks messy. A lot of wild accusations.
Allegedly, part of it's not even alleged. Randy Pitchford admitted on a podcast that he did lose like a USB drive that had porn on it.
Yes.
I guess there was also the corporate secrets allegedly that were on them, and money that was lost, millions of dollars and other things. So that looks messy.
Yeah, that looks like
It wasn't going to be a full topic because I don't know what we can add.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that Pitchford seems like a real fucking piece of work.
A piece of work, something my dad would say.
Yeah.
You're a piece of work. Nice way of saying you're a slime ball. Anyway, so that's what's going on.